Are you fed up about hearing how AGI is here or autonomous agents can run your business? We're here to tell you about what the real flex with AI is. I've been in AI for nearly a decade, building it, breaking it, and seeing what really works. Now I'll be calling BS on the bad advice.
And I'll be keeping it human as we go up in the AI.
I'm James.
I'm Tanya, and welcome to Up in the AI. So, James, we've made a big promise about what we're going to cover today. What is it that someone's going to learn if they listen in?
You're going to learn about what tools you should be using if you're non-techie. Not tools that are going to hallucinate or break, not tools that are going to run your business for you, but ones that can actually bring down the time it takes to do those daily activities, reduce those manual tasks by 50% or more.
Perfect. Like as a newbie going through this myself, and as I've got more into using different tools, more complex ones, one could say, I have found there to be a bit of a tediousness into the constant fixing of these tools. Ones that I was not used to having to deal with, like when I was just working with ChatGPT or just Claude on its own, for example. So yeah, now it's a whole other element to what I do with AI. So I think this is going to be really valuable. And before we kick off into the main chunk of it, so let's go to our BS, no BS round. As you know, I'm going to ask you a series of questions. Your job is to say BS or no BS. Tell us a reason why. And yeah, we'll get right into it.
Let's do it.
Yes. I'm like, where are my notes? Find them. Come back to me. Where were they? Oh, there we go. Alrighty. BS or no BS question number one. Non-technical owners should wait for AGI before adopting AI.
Oh, no way. I mean, there are some people saying that AGI is already there. I don't think so. But no, everyone should get involved in AI right now. That's bullshit.
2. Autonomous agents can replace your ops stack today.
Today. No, I don't think they can. I actually think autonomous agents are a bit crap at the moment. They can do some things, but replacing your whole ops, no. Bullshit.
Cool. Access to files and tools matter more than fancy prompts.
That's a hard one. They matter, but fancy prompts are the be-all and end-all of AI. I'm going to say that's bullshit as well.
All right. Okay. 4. Local files are outdated. Cloud only is always better.
Well, funnily enough, I had everything in the cloud, Google Drive, but since using tools like Claude Code and Cowork, I've been storing much more on my computer because I find that AI interacts better with local files than it does with cloud files. So, bullshit. Unless it's the other way around. Can't remember now. Sorry.
Oh, you got it right. Yeah, you called right. 5. You can get 20 to 50% time savings without using full autonomy.
Yeah, for sure. Like, full autonomy is often where the problems are. Your oversight costs a lot of time. They make mistakes. Like just using something to amplify what you do daily, that could easily save you 50% for sure.
Brilliant. Well, that's the end of my questions. So let's crack into it then. Your promise was, can you remind me what your promise was?
The real flex.
The real flex is what?
Like most things in business, the real flex is the unsexy flex. It's not the how can I have an agent that's going to, run all of my business? I can fire all of my staff. It's actually like, how can I have a companion that works silently by my side that helps me do what I do great, what I do every single day, better and faster?
Okay, great.
And I'm going to tell you what the tool is that I think you should use. It's the bridge between, the AI bridge that every non-techie person should be looking into right now.
Okay, we're going to go straight there. Is there anything else you want to contextualize so that we're all on the same page? Or maybe we should start with the issues before we get to the solution.
Okay, I'm happy to.
Okay, so what are the problems? What is the bullshit, the hype, the problems that are out there that people are getting trapped into?
Okay, let's use OpenClaw as an example. Clawbot, Maltbot, whatever you want to call it. So every single influencer under the sun that has anything to do with AI is talking about it. You and I've been testing it for close to a month. You at least for 3 weeks. And what have we found? It hallucinates. You think you're set up with something autonomous through its cron jobs. Cron is just a time-based recurring task. So it's like at this point in the day, do this task, or every 30 minutes, do this task, right? That kind of breeds this autonomy. And I don't know about you. You tell me, Tanya, what your experience has been with these cron tasks. Do they run consistently for you?
No, 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 no. I'm hard pressed to find a series of at least 2 days back to back where it worked, and either it ran or it ran following the guidelines criteria that I had asked
Yes.
it to follow. So no, it hasn't done that at all. I've had countless issues. It's almost like a laughing. I now actually wake up in the morning and go, "Hey, where's my morning report?" Like I'm chasing up an intern that just got drunk the night before and slept in, right? It's not performing in that way.
Yeah.
Mm-mm-mm.
Every single time I think I'm over the hurdle, like I spent all this time saying, this is what I want in my morning report. This is what I want it to look like. And then there'll be something in there that fails. Either it's the formatting, so it's really hard to read. And that sounds like a bit of a complainy thing to say, but that's what we're doing, something that makes it more useful to us. And then
Mm,
it's all in block text and you can barely read anything. Or something inside of it will fail, like my weather report. Again, it's not a massive deal, but
mm,
this is supposed to be close to AGI,
mhm,
right? You would expect it to be able to get me the weather.
mm.
What else has happened to me recently? What's been very good actually is I linked it up to my Fathom. I don't think I've had any issues with this. So this is my one exception. Um, every single time I do a meeting, it goes in, grabs that transcript, and gives me a short update.
Yep.
It does that consistently. That has not broken. The actual update, the report of that transcript has been mixed bag, like the morning reports. Like sometimes I get really detailed. Sometimes it gives me like 2 lines and says this is cut off.
Yeah.
Fine, go look at the rest of the transcript, and I'm like, why? Why would you
Right?
do that?
I've got one where I ask it to just remind me every morning in my morning report what is like my mantra in a way, if I could explain it like that.
Yeah,
And this is a very set amount like words, right? This is the words that I've asked you to tell me every morning to remind me.
yeah,
And half the time it just makes something up. I'm like, that's not it. Or like when I've kind of got in lots of influence saying like, you can use this now to analyze YouTube, right? Your YouTube channel. And
yeah.
I've asked it to go find me and I've told it after going through this problem once, I only want English videos, but it keeps sending me Russian videos. And I'm like, I don't want Russian videos. So it's like, yeah, I don't know why these things are happening.
Is that because of the spelling of your name?
Yeah, it could be. Or there could be other political things that's happening here. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Mm, it's tracking you down for some reason.
Yeah, I'm not going to say it out loud because I know what happened the last video on OpenClaw. I mentioned OpenClaw in my mind and what happened. It really freaked me out.
Um, yeah, so I think the problem is that people are putting this forward as a replacement of a human. And right now, these guys are not, these open claws are not replacing humans. What they're doing is making you more efficient. And the way that I've seen it work best for me, at least, is as you know, I created the command center. So I can visualize everything. So rather than I just get an update in Telegram, which I find aren't that strong. And by the way, quick caveat for anyone listening to the influencers saying you can do all of this just on Telegram, I think that's BS. I built a command center where I can visualize the tasks that it's doing, view the documents that it creates, progress leads. I've even built a way in which it can manage my LinkedIn inbox, and I can visualize all of that as well.
Yeah.
I think that's the way, right? You have to be able to see what it's doing. You have to be able to hard code things into it to an interface. Uh,
Yeah. And if
leaving
I
it all to Telegram is just not right.
and the reason I want to emphasize on that point is because I'm a non-techie person and new to AI. So what your dashboard allowed me to do was feel connected to what this thing was in a much more relatable way,
Yeah,
and it was a much more non-techie interface that I could
Yeah.
understand, and then I could conceptualize how I can use this more to my benefit, right? Whereas before it was very tricky. And I think that there probably are like highly experienced people who are able to leverage and use this, and their agents are running and there's, it's fixing itself and it's easy, whatever. But I think the majority, and especially like we're talking about today, the non-techie people,
Mhm.
that's where, I think this is where it gets challenging.
Like what we've said before in a couple of videos, if you don't know what Claude Code is, if you've never used that, if you've never had AI interact with files on your computer, you should not go to OpenClaw. OpenClaw is unsafe, it's untested, and it often goes off and just does its own thing.
Yeah, it does.
So the solution then, shall we talk about that?
I think that sounds like a good segue for sure. Yeah. What can people do who are non-techie, and what AI should they be using?
So as you know, I've been using Claude Code not to, well, I have been vibe coding websites and apps for fun, but I've been actually using it to run my business. So, Engine is a sales agency, AI powered. We help people come up with like strategies like pre sale strategy, write all of the content, automated, AI powered response chatbots, all of that stuff. And it takes time to understand about the customer, make sure you've tracked it all, pop it all in the project management system, all of that kind of stuff. So I
Mm,
created the engine method and I run it all through Claude Code.
mhm,
Um, that asks me key questions about the client. It asks me to track this. And once you got all of the information, it puts it in a cos.yaml file, customer operating system. So
mhm,
every single agent, every single chat, it refers back to that. So it's
mhm,
based on really great content. And obviously, I have a load of agents pre built into Claude Code that do different things, create ads content, create email content, and so on.
mhm.
This is fantastic, but it comes with a big but. Like, you have to run this out of the terminal. And I'm fine with that. Like I got Cursor as an IDE so I can visualize the files and I run multiple terminal sessions. That's great for me. But if you've just kind of glazed over because you don't know, what is terminal, for instance, what's an IDE, what's a CLI,
Mm,
um, Anthropic have seen you coming. Anthropic have seen people like me, and now you, Tanya, you've been doing the same thing,
mhm.
work out of these environments and gone, wow, okay, something we never imagined would be so useful is blowing people's minds. But this is for a small portion of people that are willing to get their hands dirty to get out their comfort zone.
Yeah.
So what they did, and it's amazing, is they built this thing called Cowork into Claude Desktop. So you still have Claude and you can still use it like you use ChatGPT or Gemini. You can talk to it, you can build projects, link it up with MCPs, all of that. But then up at the top, at the tab, there's this thing called Cowork. What it allows you to do is interact with the files on your computer. So this is exactly the same thing that Claude Code does in through the terminal, and it's actually powered by Claude Code, but it's done in an interface that's just tech friendly. I'm not
Mm,
saying that it's like still super easy. You still have a little bit of a learning curve. You have to understand when you give it permissions to access a certain file, then it can see those files, it can edit those files. There's still a little bit of risk there. There's still a bit of a learning curve, but the fact that it can go and read what you're doing, your Excel, your PDFs, your Google, your Word docs, and
yeah.
it can create files. Like, this is game changing. It can now do stuff with you as your companion in the same way I was doing with Claude Code. And I honestly believe this is the thing that everyone should be trying right now. Not Claude Code, not OpenClaw, but Claude Cowork.
Yeah, okay. Because I have heard out there, now the open claw flurry is sort of like settling down a bit, that there's several who are coming out saying, you don't need open claw at all. You need
Yeah.
Claude Code. Just dig deep and go into Claude Code and learn that, and you'll be able to do what you want to do. Now, um, I guess my question is on that is, because for me, having had the experience of working with Claude Cowork and OpenClaw now, I can totally get that learning curve and the importance of going through this as the first kind of phase of that to open your mind to what is possible. But what's my question? I guess, okay, so after Cowork,
Yeah.
at what point And what would give what would give someone to indicate that they are then ready to move into something like Claude Code?
Well, the question is, do they need to? I think that's the big
Interesting.
thing. So you're in Claude Code. I mean, Claude Code powers Cowork, right? So you're getting that same awesome model.
Okay.
The difference is that you don't need to know what the terminal is, right? You don't need to install it yourself. You don't need to understand all of these commands.
Yep.
It's a human interface. So I agree to an extent. You know, it's a little bit like the people that are working on Claude Code through IDEs and terminals. They're a little bit ahead,
Mhm.
right? But not vast enough to warrant anyone that doesn't want to go and learn that. I would
Mhm.
say the vast majority of people will be absolutely fine in Cowork. They'll have the near enough the same efficiencies because all that Claude Code is doing. Let's think about why it was created. It was created to help you code. So it's looking at a web app project, right? All
Mhm.
of the different files. It's understanding the context. It's understanding the PRDs, which is product documents that explain all of like the product requirements. And so it's getting all of that context, and then it's creating files, you know, new pages, new styling. It's editing existing ones. So that's why it was built.
Mhm.
People like me use it to look at existing documents like meeting transcripts, branding documents, and all of that,
Mhm.
and then create strategy to create emails, to create ad copy, and do
Mhm.
that at scale. And why do you need to use Claude Code in an IDE when Cowork will do the exact same thing, but do it in an environment that's much more user friendly?
Okay. So it's more for, as we were saying, non-techie people in business who want to become more efficient and are not necessarily there to create a website or an app or, whatever. It's just more about something, as you say, a companion that can help you
Yeah,
work in that way.
exactly. Yeah.
So
So
what are the go for it. You were going to say something else?
I was going to give you two examples.
That's what I was
Do
going to
you
ask
want?
for.
Okay.
Yeah, I was like, so come on, let's get some real world examples because I know people getting peed off going, yeah, 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 you're telling us like blah, 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 all these wonderful things, but how do I practically, what are the things I can actually do with it and how do I do those things? Yeah.
So I've been in the on the Anthropic team, um, not literally, but you know what I mean. Like I've been supporting them since they came out. Like I love Claude.
Hmm.
I just feel as though it's got better content. And about 8 months ago, I got a client that also loved Claude. Up until that point, all of our other clients through the agency had been ChatGPT. And he's like,
Hmm.
"Oh, I love Claude." And I was like, "Oh, thank you. I don't have to tell you about it. You know how good it is." He's like, "Yeah," but he's not a techie guy.
Hmm.
You know, he's maybe slightly more techie than the average business owner. You know, he's very successful here in Australia, multi-million-dollar business.
Yep.
And he phoned me up I don't know, it was a week or so ago. He's like, I've finally had it. I was like, what? I've had my first sleepless night. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, well, I started using Cowork. And then it's like my mind opened as to what was really possible because
Uh-huh.
it interacted with everything that was on my computer. I could have all of these different workspaces, one for this type of project and another for this type of project. And then it was creating all of these documents. He'd also installed the Chrome extension. So it was interacting also with websites and taking over his browser.
Hmm.
And he just said, wow, you know, now I think about the things that I can actually do with this. He's actually thinking he doesn't have to depend so much on his staff. He's not talking about getting rid of
Hmm.
staff. He never would do that. He's not that kind of guy. But he's thinking, right, I can actually have a lot more oversight on my business because Cowork can help me explore all of these different angles without it severely impacting his time in the business. Does that make
Yep.
sense?
It does. A thing that comes to mind, and one of the questions I also want to ask you was, I'm not going to say, I mean, there's still a big part of me that is very excited about what OpenClaw has brought to the table.
Hmm.
And I feel like it has expanded my mind even more to the
Hmm.
possibilities of what is possible.
Hmm.
Okay. I'm still in the testing phase for a lot of it, so I can't, say it's going to deliver what I want. But I think the thing that's coming to mind also that would be is security and safety. I still have not wanted to give OpenClaw access to my personal email,
Yeah.
and it has doesn't even have. I have an integration that kind of captures basic data in my calendar and puts it into a Notion page, and it reads that only. It doesn't have insight into my calendar even. That's a personal choice. I
Hmm.
think it's because I sit in a place of lack of experience, so
Yeah.
I'm not willing to yeah, I'm not willing to go all in just yet until I really understand what I'm doing. But what sounds like what you're talking about with Cowork is it's that there is that safety, the parameters are set, right, for safety. So it
Yeah.
can, if that's what you want it to do and you want it to get more hands-on in helping you with emails and that functionality, this is a much better place to be focusing your time and with, rather than throwing it all out there with OpenClaw or choosing not to use it because you don't want it to have access to that information.
Yeah. So think about it like this. OpenClaw is designed to be connected. It is designed to have its own email, to get into your calendar, to get into your project management systems.
Mm,
You can connect Claude Code in the same way, but and you can even set it up to do some autonomous things if you want, but it's not designed for that, right? So
mhm.
Claude Code and Cowork, they're designed really to interact with things on your computer. They're not designed to be in your emails. So
Right.
instantly, it's a grunt worker. It's not
Okay.
meant to be super intelligent in that it's going to be autonomous. So it's going to make decisions. It's going to analyze things and then take an action that you can't predict.
Okay.
Typically, it's your tool that you're pointing in a direction, you're saying, "Go do this." W
Mhm.
When it does that job, it's extremely smart, but it's not smart in the autonomous way. Does that make sense?
Okay. I'm gonna challenge you because
Mm.
I'm just curious, and maybe I'm giving you too high a number to to give us 10 real world things that it can do or that it's doing for you that you think would be valuable to a business owner.
Okay. Let me give you an example for one of them.
Okay.
So my 84-year-old father coming to visit from, the UK, and, I taught him the last time he was over a year and a half or 2 years ago a bit about AI, and he's used a bit of it here and there, ChatGPT in particular.
Mhm.
And he said to me, he's like, there's an issue with ChatGPT. It's very generic. And I said, yes, because you haven't given it context. You need to create projects. So how do I create projects? What should I create them on? And we had a bit of a back and forth, came up with a bit of a strategy. But the problem was his files are just scattered all over his computer. So what I did is I got the main ones I got him to chuck them all into a folder, and I said, okay, let's get uh, Cowork to actually sort out what projects are available here, what we should use in the knowledge base, and should the system instructions be. And he didn't really know what system instructions or the concept of a knowledge base, but in doing this work with Cowork, he actually started to understand, oh, okay, I see. So I can have a project that's accountancy, and that can have best practices around how we do accounts and examples of the group's accounts. And then
Mhm.
when I ask it questions about accountancy, it has this context. And I was like, yes, that's exactly right.
Mhm.
So Cowork went and analyzed all of these files. It came and suggested, hey, these are the functional projects, accountancy, legal, and these are the things that you've got that can be included. Here's some things that are missing that I could go and create for you if I go and research. That was amazing.
Mhm.
And then the other ones were actually project based projects, i.e., his property development. So it's like this property development project. And he found all of the files, from the original cash flows to project updates. And so now when he wants to create emails or, I don't know, a new spreadsheet on something or other, he goes and talks to that specific project that understands about what is
Mm.
going on. And so
Mhm.
Claude answers in just a much better way. So
Mm.
that was quite a unique use case, but I thought anyone could do this. If you've got a lot of files on your computer, you could get Cowork to help you understand how you can leverage those files with AI, which I thought was really meta.
Yeah, so I know it's a basic question and just a distinction just so the difference between that and a GPT is that it is able to work on your, in your files
Yes.
to learn and find information and
Yes.
then cool. Yeah.
I mean, otherwise you're going to have to be uploading all of those files and asking it to do the analysis, which is possible.
Yeah.
But this is just an easier way to do it.
Much easier.
And
Definitely.
I do feel as though the underlying Claude code that works inside of Cowork, it just has a better way of interacting with files. It's better than just uploading it and then asking it to analyze. It actually goes through things, and it knows when to go deep and when to not, and when to move on to the next one.
Mhm.
So that's one. Okay, so I think one of the other big ones is just to create frameworks.
Mhm.
So it's about, okay, I do this thing and it requires this input, and this input, and then it's going to give me this output. So you create that as a framework that Claude Code can read and understand. Create it in such a way that it maybe has a Claude.md file, which is kind of like the manual to that project. It tells Claude what it's all about. You could even have agents and stuff. But this is effectively what I do with Claude Code, and you have this framework, and let's say this framework is for servicing a particular marketing client, right? And so you plug the details of that client in. Claude Cowork goes and analyzes that information. It tells you what it needs. So then you can go back to the client, get that information, feed it in, and then it will start creating things, tone of voice, all of like the marketing stuff that we talked about. It becomes your interactive grunt worker based on what the IP of your business.
Okay.
These are very business centric. Maybe we shouldn't do 10 because they're
Can I
quite
throw
in
some things out there then? Can I just say, can it
depth.
count it? Because
Yeah.
these are things that I would find valuable.
Yeah.
Like, so, oh, maybe this is not the best, but, uh, could
Go
it
for it.
post could it
Go for it anyway.
alright, well, could it post something for me on my Instagram account, even though there's nothing on
Uh,
there, so don't go look.
no, not really.
Okay.
I don't
So
know
it
whether
can't
there's an Instagram MCP. I don't think there is. You can link it up to other platforms with MCPs, but no, out of the box, it wouldn't do that.
okay. So it can't actively go and post something online for you in whatever social platform.
Not out of the box, no.
Okay. Can it send emails for you, even though you say it wasn't made for that?
Again, not out of the box. You can link it up. Claude actually has some native implementations with Gmail and Outlook, but I actually think that they're at the moment read only, so that wouldn't allow you to actually send. But you'd have to link it up with some sort of MCP. So
Yep.
you're going into the realms of probably too techy for the average person there.
Okay. But I don't think these are like,
Ah, sorry,
as a
sorry.
non-techie person, I still want these things. You know, like
You
I'd love someone just to, you know, can you just send that email to that person with this context?
You can do both of those things. I apologize.
Okay.
Because what you can do is you can install the Claude Chrome extension
Yeah.
and have, your Instagram or your email um, on there, like your Gmail or whatever, in your browser. And
Yeah.
then you can have Claude Code take over your browser, and then it can do pretty much anything that you can do on your browser.
Oh, okay. Well, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right. Um,
Sorry, I was thinking in one direction, but really, once you put the browser into the equation, it can do quite a lot.
yeah, okay. Well, it sounds really good. Like, I mean, I know we've talked on this before, but I feel like we've gone a little bit more kind of, as I said, ground level with it, and
Mm,
given some real practical how, like, you know, ways in which to use it.
yeah,
I think it definitely I think it's a good option,
yeah,
right? It's a really, really good option. So I've got some quick fire questions. Are you ready?
yeah.
Awesome. What's the first workflow a non-technical operator should give AI?
I mean, the one that I always say is analysis of meeting transcripts. I think any of that kind of document analysis where you need some sort of output built,
Mhm.
like a report created, even in like a little dashboard, interactive dashboard, anything that it can do to take data in and
Mm,
give you something that you can use or circulate in your business is going to be highly effective.
100%. Meetings are there's so much information that is derived from a meeting, and there are things that are said that you are at the time probably not taking in. And very rarely do I think people go back and listen to a whole meeting. If you do, I take my hat off to you. But I think that's a really smart way of not letting the things that are opportunities slip, and
Yeah.
then, being able to capitalize and get the things that are really, exciting moving. Cool. All right. Next one. One sign your setup is too broad and likely to drift.
One sign your setup is too broad. You're spending more time trying to get the solution working than it would have taken you to actually just do it yourself manually.
Yeah, got that one. All right. Where should human approval sit for best speed versus control?
On a level of urgency and importance, if it's important, you should always have humans in the loop. You can
Uh-huh.
have urgent and non-important, in which case you can allow for more autonomy. But when it becomes important, when it becomes client facing, if it's anything to do with money,
Yeah.
then human in the loop.
If you had one rule for safe AI adoption this quarter, what is it?
Test, have a hypothesis that you want to put forward with the AI. So you have this problem you want to resolve, or you're expecting this desired outcome. Test in isolation. Don't test it on your local computer with access to everything. Set up a VPS, or to just overcome all of that, talk to a professional that can help you test something before you implement it with your own stuff or your business.
Right. And I know we're talking about Claude Cowork, but one of the things is planning, right? That's come out as something that's really important in, and I think that's intimated in what you said, but certainly make out that you want AI to plan this out. You've got this idea, plan it out. And then
Yeah.
you're right, get that tested.
I mean, I was
Good
talking
point.
about human planning before you even touch AI, but that is a great point. There's a feature, a plan feature, and also an ask user question feature built into Claude Cowork and Claude Code that allows you to plan it out with the AI before you implement anything. Then you can review the plan, iterate on the plan before you actually get it moving on creating or editing anything. That is highly valuable.
Yeah. I've actually gone a few rounds with that. It's sort of said, I've got everything. I don't need to know anything more. And I'm like, just ask me a few more, just in case. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Like, let's just go with it, right?
Go
Um,
another few rounds. Come on, it's been fun.
yeah, I've got nothing to do. Let's do it. But it's important, I think, anyway, for maybe my own peace of mind as
Yeah.
well. Okay, so I think that's a really good place to leave it. I feel like we've covered off some really important things here around non-tech users being able to what AI they should be spending their time on, and what are the parameters in that, and use cases that they can dive in and test out those ideas. So, is there any last words from your side that you want to add?
Well, I think, as always, it's about taking action. How can we take action? Anyone listening can join our free school community, Make Money with AI. Inside there, we've put together loads of templates for prompts. We've got GBTs. We run weekly transformation call. And we're actively helping people leverage their IP with tools like Cowork. These are the kind of conversations that we're having right now inside of the community.
Yeah. And your first step when you join the community is introduce yourself. And, there are very clear, guides on how you can do that to get the best out of that experience so that we can then be really quick to be able to understand where you're at and where we can point you to the best possible resource or course that James has created, because there is a lot in there. So definitely take action when you jump in there. Well,
100%.
perfect.
All right. Well, I guess we'll see everyone next time.
I guess we'll see you up in the AI.